Hila.
We want you to show us Tel Aviv from the window.
Of
course, of course. Just one moment.
Wait, your hand is really blocking the, oh, wow.
Tel Aviv.
Yes, the Yofi, Tel Aviv.
It looks the same color like New York.
Oh, this is where they get the vaccinations.
Yes. Exactly, in Rabin Square.
Wow, look at this.
Wow.
I love it. I love it. Oh, if you take it a little bit right, there is my ballet studio when I used to dance ballet on the right side of the Ben Gurion Boulevard. Right. Wow, look at this. Wow, look at this.
And I lived on David HaMelech, which is on the left side.
Listen, guys, before we first, let's say, welcome to Tzuzamen.
Tzuzamen, welcome.
Yes, a new week, hi, Tzili. And you know that we are here for, the only thing that I have a problem today is our guest hair. I mean, all my life, before you introduce her, all my life, I wanted to have hair like this. And look at me, Eshmate. This is, it's like Miss Piggy hair. And you, I mean, you're okay. I mean, Tzili is fine, but you know, this is like a lioness.
This is a crown.
This is a, yes,
Hila
this is a scene.
Yeah.
So listen, so that's it, Tzuzamen, and I will have to contain my, you know, feelings. And can you introduce our guest?
Hila Oren, Dr. Hila Oren, the chairwoman of Tel Aviv Foundation and the head of the team that is in charge of Tel Aviv branding as we know it today for the last 10 years, 11 years, Hila?
Since 2009. Right.
She is in charge of basically the change of the attitude towards Tel Aviv, not as part of Israel as a whole, as Tel Aviv, as branding, as the wish of many people to come and see what they invented. So tell us a little bit about it, Hila.
But just remember that we know, you know that we are the branding because we grew up in Dizengoff Square, which is the heart of Tel Aviv, right? But
before where you are now, sitting now in the city hall on the 12th floor?
Yes, of course.
So this it didn't exist.
No.
And what you showed from the window, the Rabin Square, used to be all sand. And when we were kids, we used to lit fire there for Lag BaOmer.
No, she's ancient.
The zoo was in back. The zoo was in back.
The zoo was in the back.
And the whole area was sand. And then later on, when they built the city hall, and afterward, they moved the zoo to the safari.
So when we get to each city, you know, the icon, we are from the icon. No, we are from Dizengoff Square.
We are the icon.
We are the icon. This Dizengoff Street is like 5th Avenue.
It's 5th Avenue and Broadway. And
yes. But anyway, so, you know, we know that Tel Aviv
and Madison Avenue, all of it.
We know that Tel Aviv is really have a lot of faces like every city. So do you have to cherry pick? I mean, I want to, tell about this. I want to tell about this. Or what? What you're doing actually?
What is the brand? So as you said, I'm in charge. So I'm very, very lucky to be in charge. But you know, you do branding always Tzuzamen, always in a team. You can never do anything, and especially in branding, you cannot do it alone, because the mission of branding is to wrap up a city or a product. If you want to wrap up a city, you have to get all the stakeholders, everybody, the public sector, the private sector, the people that work in the municipality, the little companies, you have them all to collaborate on one story.
Israel is to collaborate on one
message. It's not easy.
Israelis like to collaborate, but everybody likes their own message.
Yes.
So now you have to create one whole message.
They have to join in your message.
Because to get everyone to tell the same story, this is the issue why it's a success. And this is why when we look at different cities in the world, lots of cities want to wrap themselves better, to rebrand themselves. We're in an era of cities. Since the 1990, when Professor Saskin coined the term global city, it's a city where there's a business center, where you're in in connection with other cities in the world, New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, Tel Aviv, whatever. You don't say anymore like you used to say in the 80s, USA versus USSR. Now it's Singapore versus Barcelona versus Tel Aviv, Los Angeles, etc. And the issue of a global city, it's very strong, right? It has business, but it also attracts the lowest minorities and communities that can get empowered over here. But the first step to brand the city is to define its DNA. What is the identity of the city? Now, it begins with geography elements, like what's the attitude, how high is it, is it next to the beach, what's the climate, who are the residents, and then it moves into values. Tel Aviv is a very vibrant city. It's a non-stop city. And when we coined that slogan, we actually captured reality that was here since the city was issued, I think, in 1909. It started out as 1,000 people coming from Neve Tzedek, from a little neighborhood, from Jaffa, from the old city, and they initiated Tel Aviv. But from the first moment, it was nonstop because they initiated a high school called Gymnasia Herzliya, and there was 1,000 residents and then 1,000 students living in the apartment, and already injection, like an injection, the spirit of the nonstop of youth, of energy, etc. So it started as the
No, I
first.
just want to tell you that when you came, it used to be a city, we didn't have high rises. It was, low, like 3, 4, komot, I used to say komot.
Floors.
Yeah,
floors.
Floors.
And we didn't have, so the feeling was that it was like a neighborhood city.
But in the beginning, there was the private houses, like little houses, like
Right. A garden city, exactly. So the beginning was the first Hebrew city. This is the way it was captured. And
you
then
know, by the way, Hila, that my grandfather, I didn't know him. He died very young in his 30s. But my father's father and his brother came from what they call the White Russia, especially to build the city, to build Tel Aviv. They came in the 20s. They were builders, and they came to Tel Aviv to build the city. And they built. We lived on Dizengoff Street. They built the little house, and then with every few years they added another floor. They built the synagogue. They built a whole neighborhood that was basically next by Dizengoff Center.
Yeah, but you know that something else, although it was low, small, like you say, a lot of it didn't even have roads much, it was more sand. But since the ability in Tel Aviv to absorb the immigrants who came from Europe, like my mother came, with one dress, can you imagine that? But they opened up a building in the center of Tel Aviv when the land is expensive, and it was for women who came, singles from Europe, so they will have a place to stay. So there was something, a small city, not many people, but we will talk about it later, how important it is for the legend of a city that there is a solidarity kind of, feeling like one family.
But they came from Europe, and they brought the systems and the cultures from Europe. So they recreated whatever they need on that base in order to serve them right. So that's how it all started.
And also the specific people that came with that energy and that intellectual that they wanted. The coffee shop scene was already very, very vibrant since the beginning.
Yes.
And the high rises started actually at the 60s. Migdal Shalom
was
the first, and then the Hilton, and then this building, the municipality, was built in the 70s. It was the brutalism where you could see
the first high rise, Migdal Shalom, I'm very angry with. I never get over it.
It was
they demolished the first Hebrew high school. And I don't understand how they allowed it in order to build just a tall office building with a big shop, with a big store at the bottom. It's a big mistake The problem is that for many years we didn't appreciate the history,
Yeah.
and we had such a short history, and so easily it was given away.
Yeah, but
This
you
is
know
the painful
what didn't
thing.
change and was very strong in Tel Aviv is the coffee houses. You had a coffee house for the Berliners, where my father was sitting. Then you have one, and everything around Dizengoff
The Polish,
the Hungarian, the Polish, and they all came to the cafe. They did a spray, you know, the spray, and was
a lot of makeup,
which I like to say, it doesn't matter how poor they were, they always had lipstick. I know because my mother had a cosmetic store, but that was a sign, you know. So Tel Aviv has a lot of memories, also national. I don't know how I'm jumping so fast.
But I'll remind you with the Bauhaus concentration,
Yes, the Bauhaus
concentration houses of Bauhaus with this
yes.
special architecture that also brought the aroma of Europe into Tel Aviv. But
you know, her building where she grew up was destroyed, I don't know how many, no, not many years ago.
Many
there is a Bauhaus center.
No, the Bauhaus store, you know, the store of the Bauhaus.
Yeah.
Of 99.
They rebuilt the building that where I grew up and where I was born, and it's planted there. But you know, there's something very interesting about the history of Tel Aviv, and I think it says a lot about the I don't know what qualities that about the Israelis, because each one brought his own culture from wherever they came, and that's what they wanted. I'm not talking about the pioneers who went to the north to dry the, you know, the mud and the who had to work like crazy. I'm talking about the people who came to the center, and they wanted to, and they got dressed up the way they were. They wanted to keep carrying their culture, which is natural in many ways. But every time they open places that belongs to them from there.
Yes. And
it changed along the years. And even till I think the last 20 years or 30 years, the Tel Aviv kept jumping around from let's do this, let's like other places.
Look at us, like everybody, girls, you know?
Everybody came from someplace else and said, let's do this. And it took a long time to really say, you know what, maybe we have to define ourselves here and develop it according to what we need here. And I think this is where you come along, and you gave a signature to the city as its own place, not from other places, from its own motherland, you know, which is very...
So how do you sell it? How do you sell Tel Aviv?
So I'll remind you when I came, that was an opportunity. I came on the anniversary of the centennial year, when the city celebrated 100 years. Now, this was an opportunity to stop and think with all the communities and brainstorm and understand, really, to define what is our benefits and what do we want to keep and what do we want to elaborate and what do we want to let down or say, okay, it's okay if we leave it. Now, I'm still reminding you that it's in a time of a global change. That means you've got global chains of shops and of food and of everything. So it's global versus local. You have to, how am I part of the global scene of cities, but how am I keeping my local identity? So these two parallel of being part of a global scene of cities, but keeping my local identity, defining that I'm a startup city. The Startup Nation book was just published. We understood that entrepreneurship is part of our DNA. The Bauhaus scene as architecture, the gay, lesbian community just started going. We understood that the tolerance was so strong in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is pluralistic. It believes in...
Very open-minded.
Yeah. Exactly, and values that are giving everybody the opportunity to do what they want. So all these things.
By the way, even not to have children, it's okay. To be single, it's okay. To be a single mother, it's okay, right? And then, of course, to have two fathers.
A single father with a dog is okay. To be gay, lesbian, to be with Arabic and Jewish, to be everything. To be Haredi, everything is okay. And I think this is what gave, again, the special aroma. But I want to go back to the branding and the team. This is not something that you can do in an advertising agency. Of course, you need them to come with the right colors and the right logos, but you need to build a team inside the municipality and outside with the hotels, with the universities, with airlines, with the coffee shops, with everybody. And the centennial year really gave us the opportunity. So we started that celebration and started that branding when Tel Aviv was 100 years old. Then we initiated Tel Aviv Global, which is a city-owned company that is promoting these things. And in the last 5 years, first of all, I finished my research finally, which was not that easy to really
investigate and research.
Yeah, investigate, but in an academic way, how to brand a city, to research exactly how to, because one angle that you do it is you actually promote your city. It's not really researching and asking questions and understanding where you also did wrong. Not everything that we did in the city was right, but the strongest thing that we understood all the time is that our citizens, our residents are the strongest asset that we have. And this is what we have to keep. This is where the energy is. This is why the nonstop is that big thing. When we applied for the Smart City Award in 2014 for Barcelona, what we actually said there is that Tel Aviv has technology, okay, but the technology helps us to connect between the residents, helps us to listen to our residents through technology tools to understand
you
what
have to separate from the world view towards Israel.
Or image.
the
Right.
conflict.
How to separate the negativity or the holiness or whatever, depends who was looking at Israel, and create a division, a separate division to Tel Aviv that won't be influenced by the attitude towards Israel as a whole.
And did you detach it from the political climate? You know,
I
like
would tell you, if I would come now and talk to you and tell you, oh, I don't like what the little black
vest.
Black and white.
The little black kitten that I have, the little black
spot
that I have here, you would only look at my black spot, right? But if I'll come and I will just say, I'm not relating to that at all. And I'm just trying to tell you how beautiful my curls are and how I'm with so much energy. This is exactly what we try to do with Tel Aviv. The conflict is a big issue. We just have to, I don't know if ignore it, but put it aside.
It already was put aside by our citizens and our government, completely out of the.
By the way, myself, it's very hard for me as a very left wing, I would say, to put it aside, because some of the values for me are very hard on that. But if I try for a minute to market my country and to promote my country, I need to position it as full of energy, as innovative, as great culinary, great arts, architecture. This is how I want to promote it. I can't promote it with the negative sides. Of course I have negative sides. Unfortunately, I have negative sides.
You have the immigrants and you have poverty like every city.
Immigrants is not a negative side, because any global city has immigrants. And I want to tell you something about that. Immigrants that come to any city are the strongest community from where they came. People that have the energy to put their pekale on their back and go on a journey.
They have the guts and the energy to cross and to start again. They're very strong people.
Exactly. So those strong people that are all over the world are strong people that are running away from their...
It's a force. It's a force everywhere. And if you allow them, if you bring them in the right way, you really
just enjoy
everybody
it.
Gains. Yeah,
exactly. This is why I don't see that as a negative issue. It's a challenge, but it's not a negative issue.
When they come, they face a lot of hardship. We don't make it easy.
Well, I think that, since everybody is an immigrant, nobody starts.
We are immigrants. Our parents.
So I think that once you settle, you don't want to look back. And when you have a new one, you don't like that they take your place on one hand, and then right away you want to detach from them on another hand. And you have to be a very smart, welcoming society in order to really, and have a lot of empathy, and to understand the positive side, then you can change a lot. I think we put so much energy against it that we lose on every spot, you know.
So do you think there is a DNA to it? Why it stopped?
Because they're cleaning her office, and I think she just
Oy,
touched
oy, oy.
something.
Rachel, but I'm with New York.
Wait, I think yeah. I mean, you are frozen. You are frozen.
Don't let them touch any cord. Nothing.
Nothing, because then you're frozen.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Now you're okay. Now you're okay.
Yeah.
No. Even when you're frozen, your hair is, you know, it's still doing. Yeah, it's bouncing back.
But you know, Tzipi, when you talked last time with Irena about identity, it's part of our talk now.
Yes.
Because people feel immigrants all over.
Right.
But you have to find that identity that gives them the feeling that they're very welcome and that you want to host them in your city.
I think
this is part of
most of everything is identity, because it's up to how you feel in a place, in yourself, in the environment, with the people around you. It set up the level of your function. So I think it's all about identity.
Yeah, but you know, I knew that you were a few years outside Israel, but actually you grew up in Israel. And you and me and Tzili and almost everybody I know, there was really growing up. I don't know how strong it is outside Tel Aviv, but I can speak for Tel Aviv, the DNA of this city. I mean, I think about who I am, and I am a Tel Aviv girl, you know? I'm not a city girl, I'm a Tel Aviv girl. And, you know, it never left me, although, of course, I have a lot of thought about what's going on and stuff, but there is something about this city.
The core, the DNA,
yes.
The beginning of everything. You know, no matter where we are, we always look for familiar sense, familiar smell, familiar taste. And it doesn't matter how far you go, oh, this is like, and
yes.
the beginning is the mark of everything. And you know, over the years, everybody wants to come to the center, everybody wants to come to Tel Aviv, and when you ask people, where are you from Tel Aviv, but they're not from Tel Aviv, they join Tel Aviv, or where do you live? Outside of Tel Aviv.
Yes.
But then when they ask me, where are you from, and I don't say Tel Aviv, I say Kikar Dizengoff Square. You cannot beat it.
Yes.
You cannot beat it. This is the belly button.
And the only problem, they see a tall blonde woman and then they see me, you know, like a tall midget, whatever, and that's it, you know, what happened to the image? However, I have something to ask you. So what happens to Tel Aviv now in the corona?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then we can
talking about global, that the corona put everybody in the most global situation.
Yeah, but I want to tell you something, and I heard about her. She is a tough cookie, and I think that she's going to surprise you and me that the corona started. It probably took you a month or two to understand what it is, and boom, you rebranded it for the corona, in a way, for the citizens. Is it?
So what we did is, first of all, in the corona is a year. And the year itself was so long. There's lots of phases. Like the first quarter, we just had to realize. Me, myself, I was supposed to be in New York. I had to change to do a recalculation of the route and understand that we're staying here. And we just offered all the Israelis to come and join us with a campaign to help all the needy people, because new communities, artists, small businesses, these people were never in need. Now they are in need. The artists did not come back to work until now. Right. So there was like 1 quarter to understand where we are, and then to start to adjust. We were very, very lucky with the vaccine. So over here, like 40% already got the vaccine, but still, I must tell you, it's quite gray. The energy did not come back to the city yet. It's not quiet. There's like underground parties that are going around that you never know where to go. But then in the last minute, you know, there are parties and there are arts and there is happening, but not in a very strong.
It's a little bit like while the Gulf War.
Sorry?
Like the
It's a little
Gulf
bit
War.
like at the time of the Gulf War.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
But you know,
it's
but
like,
listen, but whenever there is not a lockdown, I mean, I wonder if you make it easier for people to feel comfortable outside, because suddenly they go outside more. Because there
for
are no
instance,
theaters,
now,
no.
what the municipality did is she just put all over the city chairs, umbrellas from the sun, because we have a lot
Wow.
of sun. Now they took these milk, not cartons, but milk
Right. Yes, I know what you mean.
plastic boxes, and they spread them all over so people can sit outside,
Wow.
buy themselves the
Beautiful.
food. So the attitude is to open as most to think social development and not urban development, to have social responsibility for each other, because the gaps really got so big in this year. There are people that lived great, and in a minute, they don't have anything.
Right.
And we have to find a way to help them. So I think Israelis lived a little bit the cynicism beside.
Cynical,
And
yeah.
cynical,
They
exactly.
also adopt quickly. The Israelis
Yes.
are very tuned to change, and they adopt quickly and they move fast. They cannot sit still. So they move along with every.
They cannot stand still also in lines for a bus.
The city hall is very tuned to its citizens. So it's the dialogue is running smooth and fast. And I think, and plus a good weather, although as we saw a while ago, it doesn't look nice today, but I know you have like 2-3 rough days, but other than that, it's gorgeous.
The whole last week was so beautiful. Most of the month was, and now it's going to be 3 days of a storm, but our storm is not your storm. I mean,
No, we are there, we are not here. So
no, but you're wrong, because Israel and Tel Aviv is not built for these storms. The damage sometimes it's so much worse, and the effect is so brutal that I wouldn't compare. It's bad everywhere. But I want to pick on your brain because I want to bring you to New York. We need to know. We are curious. We want to know how New York would look post-corona.
or what can be done. If they will take you to
so the
join,
question is, what do we mean when we say post-corona? We have to be a little bit patient. The post is not one day, okay?
Right.
It's not that it will come like in a month or two. The post
No, but we have to build up and create a process.
Yeah, I just wanted to frame the
trigger.
time. Of course, I wanted to frame the time. When I say post-corona, that means that we'll start seeing the results only in another year from now. I mean, we'll work on it. But if the corona started on one day, on March last year, probably, okay, we'll see the end of it only in a year from now. A year already passed, and then another year where we can start already getting ready for getting out of the corona, but it will take time.
I don't think we'll see a change before the fall. I think we'll start.
But there are going to be two major changes. First of all, the outdoor is going to be used much more than it is used now. Although
also in New York.
Summertime in New York, which Tzipi doesn't know because she's always in Israel. Summertime in New York is very, very active outdoors. Very. Just most New Yorkers are not in the city over the summer, and a lot of tourists are here. But the outdoor city is extremely active.
So it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more. But in the winter, it's also going to be used more. What we are used to, that the outdoor is just for leisure and fun, and we just, walk or do sports. We're going to start working outside. We're going to start learning outside. We're going to start meeting outside, because the coronavirus is not just going to end.
It's cold, Hila. It's cold.
Now, but the rest. By the way, I bought a megaphone. I bought a small megaphone because I wanted to bring my students to the park near my house and sit there and give them the class outside with a megaphone. So I bought a megaphone and I cannot use it.
No, it's cold. I was 4 years ago, Tzili, in Harvard for a month on February. It was -20, but still, it's -20 for a week, not all the time.
Yeah, right.
So when it's around the zero, you can still be
she's
outside.
right.
It's cold, but you dress well.
No, what
and
you're
you
talking
still-
about. Wow.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
I'm
very.
telling you, because I've been all over and I know I've been standing 10 years ago in the most beautiful show in Vilnius, Lithuania, whatever. It was New Year's Eve. We all stood outside 12 p.m. It was freezing cold December, but the art show we saw there was so beautiful, no one would miss it. And I know this is where it's going to go also over here. Things are going to go outside. The municipality and the private sector is going to make outside furniture, which is more hosted.
I think it's already started because of the corona. With the restaurants, they allow, and there's a variety of styles, and everybody comes up with something else, which is, this is the nice thing about New York, the pluralistic taste. Nobody gives you rules except security rules or health rules. And you see versions of outdoors covered of the city, and I'm sure they'll allow them to bring it back, and I'm sure they'll extend it.
So do you think that the icons like Times Square, like, I don't know, Champs-Élysées, I say it with the French accent, do you think it will hold?
Of course, and it will be filled with more furniture, so people will use it more functional, not only tourists, but also classrooms and offices will have their meetings outside, not only indoors. You'll have Wi-Fi, you'll have like poles that are using the energy of the sun for energy, for light, for Wi-Fi, and for music. You're going to
Wi-Fi you already have, but the homeless like to use it, and they don't let anybody else use it, and they just live around it. So
okay.
you have
So
island.
Look, we always know how to find new solutions.
Right.
We'll find new things. It's always there are barriers and always there are solutions. But this is one thing. So the outdoor is going to be much more functional and much more used. And because the outdoor is going to be used, the plastic arts are going to be much stronger, because theater and music and dancing needs indoors. Our plastic arts can be showed beautifully outside, also digital.
But also, you know, in Greece, I mean, the theater and the ballet went out. They were in the small arenas.
But Hila, we have a lot of outdoor art all the time.
She has in her gallery outside.
I have the billboards, you know, with the video art, which I never stopped through the whole year. Because everybody shut down the billboards in the beginning, and then they had, you know, they spoke about the medical teams and the maintenance team. I always showed art, because I think also, you know, the corona time is very good for video artists, because you don't have to move anywhere, so they create non-stop. So I did projects all the time, and I still do. So you
are a pioneer. You are a pioneer. You are not the majority.
Yeah, this is the art thing is really, I think, pioneering.
But you asked me what will be the
major change.
Yeah,
exactly, the trend. So the trend, you will not be just a pioneer or a cherry. You're going to be part of a trend. You're going to tell them, hey, I've been there first. But this is where
not be unique anymore.
I still don't. Well, in New York, people pick up on things quickly, very quickly. So whatever you think you invent, it's like in 2 minutes, it's a trend. And then nobody remembers who did what. But I still, you know, I'm trying to smell. What's the next thing? What's going? It's very hard to tell yet. And although the numbers of the reports say that you have more people coming to the city, more people on the trains, more people on the subway, you don't really see it. You do see.
Time out. You'll see what are the trends. Whatever is.
Yeah, I know, but you know, you can see that in Midtown at the time of coming to work and leaving work, you can see a little bit more traffic. People are there more, but still, it's not shown yet. I think it will take some time, and then we'll figure out what. But on the other hand, you have all these places that shut down, but they started before the corona, and all this street level become shut. And
but now they started filling them with arts, you know, in Lincoln Center.
Well, no, so listen, this is something that, because years ago, when they started to lose spaces, They had the pop-out galleries and everybody had art and everybody had something. The amount of spaces that is closed and the amount of spaces, I mean, the whole level of color that we used to see in the street is gone. The whole level of color and how much art you can put and how much stuff you can put. I think that we need to create something to turn all this street level to something much more profound, like performing art, music, theater, to create other ways of showing it. But it's a lot. It will take some time to really figure out how to do it and finance it.
Look, the little local businesses, there are so many minorities in any global cities, also in New York. So these places, people will start cooking in them and start making like local restaurants, not part of the global. And you'll come and you'll have your lunch over there, but it'll be a local Iranian lunch.
It used to be. Like it used to be before the big chains that really
like 40 years ago.
Swallowed all the private taste. Yeah.
By the way, so the private taste will come back into that level of the street with the outdoor. They'll cook it over there. They'll take it outside to eat outside. The arts will come.
That's the smell is killing me. All I have here is this Ozen Aman, which I only
haven't touched now.
You know? Listen, I want to pick up on. I want to use you because because you were talking about New York, and I would like you to be my messenger. Okay, so this is it. I mean, we are conglomerate in documentaries. Our feature films now, it's in every film festival around the world. A lot of Netflix and different other streaming are using our TV shows, right? So there is no doubt, you know, that we are really made it. We are now in a way in the front, and I'm not just saying it. What we don't have is the only distributor that shows, let's say, our films, Israeli films, it's actually just Cinema City, you know, Edri, which is wonderful. But is there only one, and it's almost outside of Tel Aviv. If you can open up a small theater that will only show Israeli films, especially the independent, and if you will ask Jerusalem Film Festival, if they will not agree, you do it, and have an extension, because you only have a festival about the documentaries. But if you also, like Tribeca, they have the center in Tribeca, but then they show all the festival in different theaters. So if you can help to have also an extension.
But you have the Cinematheque in Tel Aviv.
It's not like, it's not. Cinematheque, yes, show Israeli films, but one at a time. It's not a theater that only carry Israeli. I think you should do it. And I think also, many years ago, my friend and me, his name is Daniel Waxman, is a wonderful filmmaker. And we were pushing to have a channel on television. So why don't you have Tel Aviv channel, which we have.
Like New York One,
which tell the local news, which local art, give a voice to people. Just a channel on television, Tel Aviv, because Tel Aviv, I think it's not just Tel Aviv. It's all.
You're very right. Let's ask Irena to help us promote it.
Yeah, but you have to push it, because
but
then,
a channel makes more sense, because unfortunately the Israelis don't like to have only Israeli films. They always look for outside. They want to see what's outside. They don't want to see, and many Israelis still say, oh, we don't like Israeli stuff. Oh, we don't
not
like
anymore. Tzili, you are behind. No,
you're wrong.
They cannot say there are so many good
but in a Tel Aviv
She's not
channel, I'm realistic.
Come on.
I think in
Tzuzamen or not Tzuzamen?
I think that in the Cinematheque you should have a whole department for Israeli films.
Fine, but have more than one theater. But you can help, because Cinematheque, you are okay. I have just, so I trust you to push it. However, one thing I don't want to forget. I would like to say that what I always was impressed in Tel Aviv is a relationship between religion, the religious people and the secular people, which is unbelievable.
Shenkin Street. Yes, around Shenkin Street.
Yes. Yep. And can you explain it? I mean, this is really unusual.
It's unusual, but when the community of religious people started to live in Tel Aviv, they knew what they are part of.
Right.
So the religious people that live here, they chose to live in Tel Aviv and not to live in Jerusalem or Bnei Brak or any other place. So in a way, I think they're the more open Haredim of the whole community, because the religious people that live in Tel Aviv know that the city is open, but in a way also the other, the secular communities really respect the religious people. And there's not a lot of noise around Shenkin Street or Bar Ilan or wherever you go. You can see that it's, they respect each other, like the energies around the beach and around the parties and around the
fighting against the other in this neighborhood. They have other neighborhoods to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. So people just, it's about respect. It's
they
about
really tolerate each other well.
Live and let live.
Right. So they leave the city. If they want something else, they're moving. Yeah. It's very different. Yeah.
So if I keep moving from one thing to another because I want to pick up your, on your brain. Did you talk about urbanism? Is your PhD, your doctoral dissertation, it's about urbanism?
So my PhD, I did it in the geography faculty in Haifa University. And the issue was the process of branding, of Tel Aviv branding, but from a perspective of urbanism. I define myself as a city maker. I always say I'm not a shoemaker, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a little bit of a matchmaker, but I'm actually a city maker.
We are looking for, we have a list, okay. Yeah, we are looking for some, okay. Matchmaking, okay. We will talk about it. We have few friends who are eager. Okay, go on.
For matchmaking. No, but I'm about matchmaking from the public and private sector. This is about branding. And to brand a city is to understand your role as a civil servant and as a city maker. A city maker is somebody that comes, looks at the city, doesn't want to change it or rebuild it, but understand the beauty of it and the assets and promote it and take off barriers and make collaborations and create reality that is all the time better and better with the residents. So this is in a nutshell a branding. Like when you ask me, how did you brand with your team the city? We defined the DNA. We went and we built collaborations. We took off, we call it take off red tapes and roll red carpets to create reality and make sure all the time that the nonstop slogan is reality. You can't call a city a nonstop and then close the whole city at 11 o'clock. The coffee shops need to be open. The streets need to have light, music. Right. It needs to be really open for life. And this is what it is. But I was also privileged to be invited to Christchurch, New Zealand. It's a city at the end, right next to the South Pole, where they had an earthquake and then they had a big shotgun last year. And I sat with them. They invited me to be a thinker in residence and help them build the strategy of their city and their DNA. And we actually, and they call themselves, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. They call themselves the city of gardens because they have beautiful flowers. But when we define together their DNA, the city council, all the city officials, or the private sector, we actually understood that they are much more than just a city of gardens. Because if you know the story about Shackleton and all of the explorers, the first explorers of 100 years ago, they all started there. They took their ships and went around Antarctica. And the DNA of the citizens that they live there until today are all explorers. They all have that energy of starting new things, going on expeditions, exploring new lives, and that it's all different. The climate there is different. The geographical assets are different. But to define that DNA and build pride to the citizens around that exploring story really made such a big change. We started it on 2008. I go engagé with them until today, already 3 years, and we see the development of the brand and the development of the economic little businesses in the city, how they really feel that they can attach to that message of exploring. And the same thing, just like in Tel Aviv, we see it. I invite you to Google it up and look at it. It's really interesting to see how a city at the end of the world is actually going through the same strategy, but defining their own specific DNA, which is totally different from Tel Aviv, but very interesting.
But your point of view, because I'm thinking of you, you think cities, but you live nature. Because your self-being is totally a nature girl, and your head is totally city girl. But physically, you're sitting maybe on the top of the city hall, but you're totally outside of the city. So your angle of watching at cities is a very different and very unique from the people who live in the city, and this is their everyday thing. They don't, maybe they go out for a little bit, but their existence is 100% city. How do you put the two when you look at cities? How do you combine it?
I started from the maps, from geography, okay? From topography. Is the city high? Is it low? What is the climate? It's cities before anything is geography. Where are they located? On a river, on a beach, on a mountain? Why did the residents come there 100 years ago, 200 years ago? Where are they getting their, okay? So this is how I watch a city, through its geography tools, through its geography.
This is like, we know it through the history, how every city was,
Exactly, so through its history and geography. And then I go to the soft values. Who are the intellectuals that live there? Which artists chose to be there? What is the asset of that city? Is it health? Is it science? Is it music? And then you understand that the whole community actually lived around it. Just like religious people will choose to live in Jerusalem and less in Tel Aviv, people that really promote fashion will live in Milan, and people that really cherish, I don't know, good food and Michelin would live in Paris, or of course they would live all over the world, but you'll find more concentration of people that admire specific assets, and then it just builds more and more. Like there's a beautiful city in Holland called Eindhoven. They built this, I don't know if you are aware, they have this exquisite design university. So the whole community that has been built in the last 50, 100 years really adopts to those kind of...
But I want to take you back to New York, because not like all the other cities, because once the center was Paris, then before that the center was Vienna. It was very specific community that was gathered around very specific something. New York is a very specific everything. And
but that everything started from the Big Apple, just like in the Bible, the sechel, the sakranut. How do you say sakranut?
Curiosity.
The curiosity for knowledge. Okay, so before anything, whoever comes to New York is curious. He or she wants to get better.
But even before that, because some cities are designed and planned, and some cities are, the style that New York was built around was open, was very different. And it's very open to many styles. It's so pluralistic, and nobody dares to change it. And if you walk around the city, you don't need to go anywhere, because you can be everywhere in the world in the city, and this nobody wants to take away. So there's something very powerful that needs to beat it in order to move this center someplace else. This year, I got worried for a bit.
Yes, she is.
At one point, I got worried.
Don't be worried. This curiosity is in the heart of everyone that lives in New York. Whoever came to New York has to be challenged by it's tough life in New York. Yeah. But whoever wants to live in New York is willing to pay all this price.
Right.
Exactly. But is willing to pay the high price because his passion for his or she's curiosity is stronger than anything.
Right.
And this is what is the like the dynamics beneath everything.
Right.
This is the way I see it. At least.
I don't know what the connection that, you know, I do feel that maybe you should also extend your generosity and think about how to bring people together, because we are in a big problem in Israel in terms of people being apart on so many levels, religion and secular and, you know, politically.
But
it's dangerous.
But Tel Aviv has unity. Tel Aviv has a big unity, and that's the thing.
But we have to somehow take it out.
We don't take it out. It's the opposite. Who wants to have this?
Spread it, I mean.
When you want to have this unity, you come in. If you want to stay away,
when you live in a lot of cities like
you come in and you can take part of it out.
To do with it.
Yeah, but Chicken, you know, she is actually, you know, looking to many communities around Tel Aviv.
But not
maybe she can send her, you know, herself to other cities.
I think she should focus and stay on Tel Aviv, because Tel Aviv is so strong.
Yeah, but I want more.
And I don't want to weaken it.
Listen, we got so much from her.
Yeah. When are you coming to us, to New York?
Oh, maybe beginning of April. I'd love, like, I'm just waiting for an opportunity to come. Hopefully,
anything that you want to talk about and we didn't ask you? There is anything else that you feel you would like to express and we didn't touch it?
I really feel, Tzili knows this, I feel that Tel Aviv has done a great job about connecting to the world city-wise, I mean to other cities, but I think on the Jewish community, we're not connected well enough. And I think this is my challenge, to come to New York and to find the stakeholders and find this connection to the city through partnerships. I think this is in the last
humongous subject, yes. And it's not only between the community and the Tel Aviv, the city. I think there's a lot of work need to be done, starting in the attitude in Israel. You know, we really need to revolutionize.
Yes.
The connection.
Yeah, but I believe always starting if I'll come with Israel and the whole.
No. We start on many.
Tel Aviv and
everybody is doing their own niche, which is a part of a big puzzle that we deal with. And I think that it's crucial.
Yes.
And it bothers me all the time, because I think there's a misunderstanding. And I worry that the connection is getting loosened up, and it's wrong. And when you sit outside of Israel, you can really focus on how we grew up, and basically things that never changed, and we need to change it. And how do we need things to change here? And we talk about it a lot, and there are things that we are doing, and it's step by step, and everybody in his own field.
Because we neglected, we didn't notice.
But I think
now, the Jewish community, how they perceive the relationship and the emotional, you know, connection to Israel was so deep, but we didn't.
I don't think it's neglect. I don't think it's.
We didn't pay attention that something happens, and it's not as, you know.
Paying attention and neglection are two different things, and also it's a process to understand the change and where we are now, and who are we facing, and how to address it. It's a long-term change all the time.
But we have to be careful, for the young generation here is really getting apart. But I'm very happy you think about it.
Exactly. And Tzipi, you know, it's always from the film industry, it's about movilei de'ah. How do you say it?
Yeah, the leaders of attitude change, or the carriers of attitude.
So I wish, if you're asking me, I want to come in around April, and we'll have a little Tzuzamen meeting with some people that can start building this relationship.
Hila and I have a table in the park that we can create a Tzuzamen there that we always do.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So listen, I think.
Hila, thank you.
Wait, first of all, thank you. We miss you. And I hope next time we meet, I have also like this. And we want to thank not only you, but everybody who joined us. And we'll see you next week. And we have Purim next week. So I already started with Amenstadt, whatever you call it.
Amentash. Ozen Aman.
Listen, stay well,
Thank God for breads.
Yeah.
Thank God.
תודה, חג שמח.
It was great to have you.
Bye, Booby.
Bye bye, beautiful.
Bye bye.
Bye.